There we go. First part, chapter 1 through chapter 8.
No.
What do you think?
No. No.
You want to say hi to everyone?
But I look funny and sick.
You're far away. My mom wants to say hi.
Hi. Oh, I look
How
so
do we
cute.
join?
You have matching headbands?
I have the unicorn. She has the bunny.
Oh,
Hold on, they can't see it.
that's adorable.
Oh my god, how
Happy
cute.
Easter.
I shared my headbands with her because we're having like a mom-daughter like little trip today. So
All night.
my mom says she's gonna start jumping on the
You were
I'm
supposed
part of
to.
the crew.
She's gonna what?
bed. My mom said she's gonna start jumping on the bed because he keeps trying to talk to me. And I'm like, Mom, I have to focus.
What are you wearing, Judith?
I'm a bear.
Judith has
Oh,
some haircuts going on. I love it.
Oh, now I feel left out.
Okay. So what did you think?
Are we
of-
all supposed to wear hats?
No.
I don't have anything.
Kaylin disappears.
Okay. So back to the book. What did we think of this?
It's very different from what we've read so far. I like it, but it seems like it's going to be pretty sad too.
The beginning, like,
No.
was it the? I think it was the first chapter. It was moving kind of. I don't know, kind of slow maybe.
Mm.
It took me a second to actually get into the book. It wasn't like instant or anything like that.
Yeah, and then
Oh my
it was
God,
only
what
one
was that?
chapter.
And then at the end, it went like fast. Like the last 2 chapters went really fast.
Yeah. I agree with that. In the beginning, I kept rereading the whole like the nun was tied up, and I was like, where are we? What's going on? I just-
Yeah, I didn't know where we were
yeah,
till
we were
later.
thrown in, and I'm like, it took me a while because it was like
It was pretty dry.
it was present and then like in the past, and they didn't really explain the characters or introduce them very well in the beginning. So I was like, who's who? I thought the brother was Mauro, and
Mhm.
it was kind of weird, but then it kind of like
Yeah.
cleared up at some point.
I thought it was interesting that she was in this detention center and she did this whole thing just to get out of a detention center. It's not like it's an actual prison, right? I thought
That's true. Yeah.
I thought it was like she went from level 10 to level 100, I think, because when we found out about what she did to get there, to forget the guy's name, she burned him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty,
I think it is like a prison though. Like
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of it like a little juvie kind of thing, because she's
yeah.
how old? Like
14 or 13, right?
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, at first I'm like, are they really talking about prison? But then they're talking about nuns. So I'm like, what is this? But then when we find out what she does, I think it's like I consider it a juvie kind of thing.
I think so, because basically she committed assault and she really seriously hurt the guy. And I think that the reason it's with nuns is because she's a girl and she's younger. They probably think it's like more appropriate or something, but essentially it's still a prison.
Yeah.
Oh, and they made some comment like that they were treating her like she's middle class or something.
Mhm.
And like that's why she wound up there instead of like a worse place, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, but in all seriousness, after like knowing what the guy did, do you guys think she overreacted?
Yeah.
It was extreme.
I don't know. Is it symbolic?
It was extreme, but I as somebody that cares so much about animals too, I'm like, I don't know. I think I would act very aggressively too. I don't think I would do that, but
And
I'm
that's,
undecided
yeah,
of how like I feel about it.
yeah, because she pretty much did eye for an eye. Like, you burned this whole animal
Mhm,
that's so
yeah.
mean, I'm gonna burn you. But that's intense. I don't know.
Do you think her protective instinct just kicked in because right before it happened, she was thinking like, "Oh, I'm gonna take this little cat home," and then this guy just pours scalding oil on the cat, so she thought like, "Hey, you did something like to something I was almost beginning to start caring about," and so
Yeah,
then
or
she
like,
just took revenge, you know?
and like she wanted that for her dad, right? The cat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So maybe it had
Like,
like
she has strong
family
protective
issues.
instinct.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
I think she had the right intention, but it was a bit intense.
She didn't think about the consequences that could happen.
I also think it was like pretty intense for what, you know, for what he did. But also, I think that there's so much corruption in the country that there's a line that I thought was interesting, um, where it's on page 11, where it says a nation of anisex, where narcotraficantes become senators, senators become narcotraficantes, killers become presidents, and presidents become killers. So in my head, I was like, okay, maybe this guy did this in front of all these people to this little cat. I can only imagine what he does like every other day, like in front of his or you know.
Yeah.
Like it was a metaphor for other people's corruption and what they did to other people who are also innocent, like the cat.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe like he is a narco or something. I mean, he probably is.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah, and there was another line probably around there, like it's more, I don't know if she said honorable to be like a narco than a politician or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if they said honorable or glamorous. I don't know.
I wrote that down too.
So I think she wanted to leave, or she planned this whole escape because of the plane ticket. Because it was already bought. Isn't that her whole intention of going back home? Like ASAP, so she can get on the plane and leave.
To get the flights.
And yeah, so like I was just confused at the end, like, you know, so like how did she and her father wind up in Colombia again?
We're not there yet.
Yeah, same.
I'm so curious.
And that's one of the things that I was gonna say. How do you guys think? One, we found out how she ended up in the whole juvie prison detention thing. That was gonna be one of my questions. How do you think that happened? But they were all in the U.S. And I think we found out how the dad got back to Colombia. He was deported, right? In that like little fight scene.
Right.
He didn't do anything. But we don't know her part yet.
Do you think maybe they did kind of like the self-voluntary deportation where they sent one of the babies with him so he wouldn't be lonely and the grandma could meet a grandchild? But then also in the United States, it's one less mouth to feed, so they can send more money back to Colombia.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. It's just what I imagined. Like maybe it was more of a survival decision than, you know, or maybe she came later. Who knows?
Yeah.
But she's the youngest. Wouldn't you take the oldest?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But the oldest one is
But the oldest one
She
can
was
watch
born-
the other younger ones.
Unless they want the older ones to work or something.
That's hard to say.
Maybe they were school age.
Oh, but
I don't know.
unless she was really attached to her dad and she's like, no, I'm leaving with you. But she was pretty
She was a baby.
Baby.
young.
He was only like a couple of weeks or
Yeah.
months old. I think.
I wonder if like later she does something that she gets deported herself.
Yeah.
But if she was born in the States, can she be deported?
Yeah,
Because she would be a citizen, right?
No.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think that's possible.
So maybe a travel visa.
No, and she can come back.
Mm-hmm.
She's legally coming back to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so maybe they sent
Hey.
her. Yeah, maybe it was like you said, one less mouth to feed, and then they knew she could come back easier than the others. Maybe that was it.
And then she did something. She did what she did to that man, and she ended up there.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like a huge gap in time.
Yes. At the beginning too, I thought the quote that said this family condition was so common it couldn't possibly be considered trauma. Talking about the family separation, I thought that was super sad because it does happen to many, many families, but it definitely is trauma to have, that family separation and not have your parents. That made me feel like really sad inside.
Yeah, I also wrote that one down, and I was gonna ask you guys what you guys thought about that, because she's pretty much saying that it's not trauma, but when you think about
Like
it,
it's normal.
yeah. Oh, because a lot of people in that area are going through it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Doesn't mean that it may be a mom figure in her case, or like a dad figure if the dad is the one who ends up leaving. Like, you need both parents, and maybe one could take the role of both of them, but there's still that like feeling that you're not complete.
Mm-hmm.
And that's trauma.
I wonder, going back to her coming back, maybe they sent her to make the grandma be happy, because you know how the grandma's getting older. And at least even with my own grandma, like I know I think sometimes she is depressed and she stays in bed a lot. But I noticed the times that I've gone to visit, or if my other little cousins are around, like she gets up quicker and, she tries to like do more things.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was like to help the grandmother's mental state as well, since she's getting older.
You did catch on that she died, right?
Oh, no. Thanks, Brisa. When did she die? Maybe I read the last part too fast.
She talks about her grandmother having. So when she gets in the car with the
French guy?
No, the other one, the one beforehand.
Oh, okay.
The one that like takes her somewhere else, just like, and lets her sleep in the back seat and all that stuff.
The guy that gives her a ride.
Yeah. So when she gets in the car with him, she lies to him, but as she says it, she's like, well, technically it's true, but she already died, so like it's still a lie kind of thing. So anyway, she had like some like dementia or Alzheimer's, and she was losing her mind, and
I wonder how long before then she came then. I'm very curious about that.
But even then, that could still happen because she was already in Colombia and she's trying to go to the U.S. So I think what Corina is saying, that her main objective was to go from the U.S. to Colombia to make her grandmother happy, no?
Possibly.
Because now, what you were talking about, Brissette, I think it's the present, right? Like, yeah, she already died and she's trying to just go to the U.S. But how did she get to Colombia? The U.S.
Why did she go to Colombia? Yes.
Yeah.
I want to know if the mom gets remarried. Because she has a fucking house. And she got like nice stuff and stuff,
Married a white man.
She doesn't. Oh, because they talked about that, right?
Marrying somebody just for legal status. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, she did. She's like, what's the big deal?
I hope that's not true. That's gonna crush Mauro.
He already has so much on his plates with his childhood.
Yeah. He went through a lot.
It was crazy as well.
His section was really heavy to read through. I think it kind of was reminding me about Weeby in the last book, and then just like other books that we've read where, the children for one reason or other get abused. It's really sad.
Yeah. The quote in chapter 2, the one that says drugs and alcohol are the greatest and most persuasive narcotics, the elements most likely to ruin a life. They're wrong. It's love. That reminded me of the previous book. I'm like, OMG, the things you would do. Not for drugs. I mean, yes, but love.
That reminds me, back in high school, so Judith and I ran track, and our coach was like my teacher for like 6 classes also, because we run the academy. And he told me one time, he's like, the thing that's gonna hold you back most in life is your family. And I've never forgotten that. And it's true because you're always gonna, they're like the one reason that you're not gonna do things.
Mhm. Love.
Love.
Love
Or
is
like the privilege people have because they're family. I don't know.
So sad.
Have you eaten all your cookies, Rico?
It's also interesting how I think chapter 4 with Elena, her whole like upbringing. It says that Elena was raised on tales meant to keep daughters compliant. I was like, funny, because I can see that happening. And obviously, I don't know about you, but I've seen it in many families, and I'm like, what about the men?
The double standards that we see in terms of males and females, especially at least with our upbringing. I feel my mom and I were just talking about that today, actually. And as a teacher, I see it a lot too, and it's kind of frustrating. I have little girls that tell me, I help my mom make dinner, I do this, I do that, and then because it's like through Zoom, sometimes I see like students that I feel are getting like a little too much help with various things, or even in class with how they talk to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, you are used to everyone doing things for you, but my job is to prepare you for the next grade. So even in kinder, I'd be like, oh, you can get your own folder from your bag, you know, here's where it is, here's how you pick it up. And you know, when this, like there's other, everyone has their style, but some teachers like stuff the folders into the bags for the kids, and I definitely don't do that. It might save time, but I just need them to have that sense of independence, even if it takes longer.
Yeah.
And in the end, at the end of the year, they can do it much faster because they've been doing it on their own. I'm very curious about the animal references with the animals on the front cover. I was wondering if they're all animals native to Colombia because it's near the rainforest. And we've already had mention of the snake and the jaguar. And so I'm wondering if, you know, the hawk or falcon will come next and how, or if it represents the migration, like, oh, they're flying, you know, all over the place without limits or restrictions. I do think the jaguar is a nod to like the indigenous people in the mythology that comes along with that, but the snake, I'm not sure.
Wait, when did they mention the jaguar?
Let me find the page.
It was
Chapter 3.
yeah, it was a small section.
When the dad goes with like his uncle or something, and they go in the wilderness, and then something about a jaguar.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was some guy that he used to work with. Or was that the grave digger?
I thought it was when he got sent to his like cousins or uncles or something like that.
Oh, it was when his mom sent him to dig graves, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy he was working with there, Tiberio. Let me find that part.
Yeah, it's Tiberio. On mine, it's page 18. I don't know if you guys have the same pages.
Same for me.
Yeah, and I think if you get attacked and survive by a jaguar, they consider you a magic.
Mm-hmm.
You're like holy, right? That was like the thing.
Maybe.
It's on page 18 on the top.
Mm-hmm. I read through it and I was like,
Okay.
oh, yeah. Because the author was gonna have a whole, what do you call it? Like
Tell all.
Yeah, like a Q&A kind of thing with Reese's book club and stuff. And I was gonna watch it, but I was scared to see the spoilers because she was gonna mention the animals, and I'm like, let me not go there.
I was all excited, and when you said that, Judith, I was like, nope, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. I was like, damn. But yeah, it's interesting. I wonder how the rest will go. Especially because the snake is like I don't see it as a positive animal.
Because of Catholic mythology, yeah, it's always like the symbol of evil.
Yeah. So I wonder what's gonna happen.
Definitely.
I also-
One chapter.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Judith. You first, please.
I was gonna say I found it interesting, since I do work with mostly doctors with OBs and all that stuff, and there are patients that come in from Mexico with just an ultrasound or no prenatal care. So when I saw this here, I was like, oh my gosh, it happens where they just show up and they expect everything's gonna be fine with the baby, or when they ask them like, hey, do you want to have your tubes tied? And that's the procedure they were talking about. You're like, oh, you can have a procedure at the hospital to prevent you from being in this situation again. And I'm like, they're just trying to help you so you don't end up with like kids you don't want. But the way that she was like, I was like, oh, I can see how they can.
It was a little condescending the way she was
Yeah.
saying it, because she was making, I mean, people do make assumptions, but I feel like the way it happened in the book was just kind of like icky.
Yeah, I think the way
Yeah. But it was kind of like horrifying. Like, oh, I've heard of women who go in for a procedure and they come out sterilized. Like, I think that really does happen. Like, obviously, I don't think the doctors are like, sterilizing them like on purpose. But I think like there's just miscommunication and yeah, she like was worried she got sterilized when she was there. Like, that's just so sad.
Yeah. And it has happened in history where groups of women have been sterilized. So that's kind of like the scary bit, I was like, wait, I don't know of any instances, like, because I haven't done a ton of research on it, but I've seen, I don't remember which area or what ethnicity or race the women were, but it's happened at least with 2 groups that I've read about, so I'm sure there's more.
I feel like that's happened recently, no? Like at detention centers, supposedly.
I think there was rumors of that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh no, there was a lot of talk about like particularly Black women and doctors, and like there's a lot of I think it's misogyny. I don't think that's the proper word. But yeah, there was like a whole discussion about that.
I have. So my younger sister and I were talking about this. I don't remember why. We saw some article about housing and like the whole housing control, and we were talking about like, well, there's someone saying like, oh, well, we have like 6 people in a room, and so we just were talking about all these things, and we ended up going to this whole sterilization thing. And she sent me an article, and it was in a detention facility in Georgia where they were performing hysterectomies, so like pretty much getting rid of your
reproductive organs.
Yeah, and then I was like, why didn't I read more? Because I had to like pay for it, so I only reached a certain point. I don't know if you can tell. I was like, oh man. So I was like, that's why I can't remember. But it has happened. It was like in 1920s.
Do you think she interviewed people to get like facts correctly?
She?
No, the author.
That's why she.
Oh, I thought you said he. Sorry.
No.
I would imagine so, right? For her to like know all this stuff.
I think it could be both. Maybe her experience or her family stories, and then like legit research too.
Yeah, I think it's part of her experience too.
She is Colombian, isn't she?
There's a lot of Colombians here.
Actually, it makes me think like when I was in the hospital with the pregnant women, like when I was in Santa Maria, there's like a lot of Oaxacan population. They speak the native dialect, Mixteco.
Yeah.
And I remember like when they needed an emergency C-section, it was so hard for the doctors to communicate with them and like tell them like you need a C-section. They were so against it. And now I'm like, I wonder if they thought they were going to get sterilized after, something like that. It was just such a struggle.
Yeah. I also work with a lot of
there's a big
Mixteco,
Oh, go ahead.
They do come from Santa Maria as well, and a lot of them do think that, or they just don't want to go through a C-section because they just want to have it natural, and they will refuse until like you have to.
Yeah. 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 I was like, yeah, if they think they're being sterilized, then yeah, I would really, if I were them, yeah, I'd really refuse too.
I was gonna say, do we trust Charles/Carlos? What do you guys think?
No.
Is the French one or?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he seems like a creep.
Yeah, didn't he like show up like she's like staying on the couch, and like he comes over to her twice.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't she see like his male parts? Like like the last time she comes up, like that's so weird. Like
Mhm.
no.
He was giving me big strain vibes, like from my Dark Vanessa, because she was very young, and then he ends up just like being in the bed, like at least half naked next to her, and she was like, "What?" Like, so I'm just like, okay, you are a pedophile.
Wait, who is this Carlos guy?
He's the one at the end.
French dude.
I don't know. Do we know the first guy's name? The one that drops her off in like,
Let me see.
what is it? A motel? Close to a motel? No, it's not a motel.
I didn't get that part, so I don't know who is that guy. Is he just somewhere where she's staying?
She has to catch a ride with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Because the other one drops her off, and then she sees him. Was he like sitting and eating something? Was it like a diner?
Yeah, he was eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she went over and like sat with him and then started like talking to him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But like the way that he was like, oh, so what do you want with me? Like, what do you want in return? And I'm like, this does not sound nice.
Ew.
Yeah.
Like, bro, this is like a 13-year-old girl. How old is she? She's like, right?
About 13, 14, yeah. I feel when she walked up to him, he probably was thinking that she was like having a different kind of interest in him, whereas she was just trying to get from point A to point B. But yeah, definitely still super creepy.
But
I
she
think
does
she
lie about
told
her age,
him-
right?
Yeah, she told him she's 15 and he thought she looked older than 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that whole part went really fast. I'm gonna reread that part.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that part in the book, but since it goes back and forth, I'm like, wait, where is it? Let me go back to my notes instead.
It's chapter 8. Oh yeah, it's a cafe.
Thank you,
Just
Judith.
watching tourists at tables, staring at their phones, with their mochilas. That was cute.
I like how this book, there's a difference between this one and Mexican Gothic, where it's like when they would speak Spanish in Mexican Gothic, they would then like, you know, translate it into English. So it's like saying it twice. And this book, it doesn't.
Like, nope.
I kind of like that.
Did it throw you off a little bit having to go like essentially talking Spanglish for like little portions of it?
I kind of dig it. Yeah, I like it.
I don't totally understand it. And then it's like I'm doing an audio book, so I can't even like look it up or whatever.
Oh.
Like I get the gist. It's only a few words here and there.
That's what I was gonna say. I think it wasn't too much where you're like, oh, because I'm not a big fan when they do that, when they go from like Spanish to then English. I don't know why I don't like it, but I think because it's not big portions of it, I'm okay with it. Like I could read it and then I was like, oh wait, that was in Spanish. Oh, okay, cool. You know, like
I think we're not used to it. Yep.
And I think also she's not specifically italicizing it. Oh, that sounded weird. I don't know if I said it. But or like, you know, using a different font or a little asterisk or something to be like, hey, this is in Spanish. Like, hey, pay attention. It's just kind of the words. It doesn't bother me.
She does both, right? Like when it's something in English that she says it's being said in Spanish, I think she puts it in italics. but then when she just throws out the Spanish word, it's not in italics, I think.
Oh.
And that's what might make it funky because we're used to, at least when I type like translations and things like that, my Spanish stuff is usually in italics or something different to make it easier to see which is which. I'm not sure if that's, I've never seen a specific rule about that, so I'm gonna look into it more. And there are some words too, like when she was talking about the flowers that somebody was giving somebody, she said the word cattleyas or something like that. And I only know that because it's the name of someone I know, but that means like orchid, I think in Colombia. But I think it's a word that's like native to that area maybe.
That's
Oh,
interesting. Catalia.
Yeah,
Like Spanglish.
that sounds nicer in Spanish. Yeah,
is Catalea?
but I didn't know if she was typing it like in English pronunciation. Yeah, it sounds pretty, huh?
That was when Mauro was giving flowers to Elena, right? Oh man.
I think so, yeah. It was at the beginning. Do you all think that maybe Mauro wanted to go back to Colombia because he's scared of taking bigger risks given his childhood and given what they have mentioned about the government disappearing people in you know, the desaparecidos and the desechables that they talk about? Like maybe he has seen much worse things than Elena has possibly, and so then he's kind of more cautious. Whereas Elena he describes her as seeing like more the positive thing, right? Seeing more of the positive things, and I think he envies that. And so I think for her it's easier to just like be, hey, let's stay, let's you know, do our best here in the United States, whereas he wants to go back. It's just interesting.
Hmm.
Well, I thought at first she wanted to go back because she was the one like, our quality of life is worse here. Like, why are we here? But so I don't know. Maybe she did meet someone. Maybe it was that house cleaning. She started making good money. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe yeah, you're right. Maybe he is just scared of living in fear.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause obviously, they kept thinking, should we renew the visa? Should we stay? Should we go? And then I think when they didn't do it, I think he became more anxious. And he's like, we're safer back home because they can't deport us when we're already back home. Like,
Yeah.
we do it ourselves voluntarily, but
Yeah, I think Talia also talks about it where she says Colombia is not as bad like when she was growing up there or the time she spent there, because now it's all about tourism, and that's where that guy Charles was there. But I feel like Mauro would rather, even though he knows what it was like there as a child, I feel he would rather face that known danger than face like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be deported or arrested at any time. It's a big fear to be living with every day.
The guy's a curator, right? I think that's what he is.
Which one?
The Italian guy. Is he? I think he's a curator, like an art gallery person.
The Charles guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know
he's
that
Italian.
I think he teaches French to like rich housewives or
Oh,
something.
that's right. Yeah.
But let me see if it's he might be. He studied philosophy, worked a government job until he heeded his heart's call to South America.
mhm.
Let me see what else it says.
It's so funny because he like talks about how it's like an absolute dream to live there, but then it's only a dream because he has money.
And more privilege from his
Yeah.
strong passport, probably.
Like everybody else that lives there is probably like, fuck, I need to get out of here
Mm-hmm.
because I have to make a better living for myself.
Oh my gosh, I'm rereading it, and I don't know why I missed it, where it says that Talia was fascinated, though she was already sick of other people in the cafe eyeing her as if she were some baby puta. And I was like, oh, I missed that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Looking to pick up.
I think that's how Charles viewed her as well. Like, oh, this girl's coming to me.
Yeah, exactly. The way
Even
that
though
What is a pupa?
it's
Like a whore
mhm.
bitch. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very bad word in Spanish.
New vocab for me.
Yeah, if you ever get into like an argument in Spanish, just throw that word out there. They're gonna fucking go.
Oh God, no. I better forget that word. Don't want to offend anyone.
Honestly, if like you have to use that word, they probably deserve to be offended.
But they use it in soccer a lot too, right? When like the goalie misses or something. That's funny. Yeah, I didn't remember that piece either.
Me either. And I like read it through, but and that's why I feel like when she doesn't do it in a certain font, I just completely go and my brain misses it.
Yeah. Hey, Brisa, going back to what you said, when Charles says, "Could I get in trouble for helping you hide?" Dalia answers, "They never do anything to foreigners." So you're right. He is having like a much different experience with Colombia than natives are.
Must be nice.
Must be nice to be French and in Colombia.
But isn't that crazy? Because technically, wouldn't Mauro and like the entire family be in the same situation, just in the U.S. And yet it's like completely opposite, where they can't even go outside.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. In Mexico, when I've gone to, you'd think, I mean, I know Mexico is big for tourism too, but there's entire like gated communities and neighborhoods where, you know, people from the United States who are not Mexican go to retire, and it's kind of random. Like I was in this beach town that I think is not very big amongst, you know, mainstream tourists from the United States. This is a random story, but I was wearing my Cal Poly sweater and my uncle was showing me like the residential side of town. It was different from the kind of like hotel-y section that we were staying at. And I'd never been through there. And we were looking, and there was this man chopping down, I think a maguey plant, which can be medicinal. And I think it helps with cramps, period cramps. And my uncle was like, "Oh, I want some of that. Let's ask the guy if we can take some." And so we pulled over and we asked the guy in Spanish, like, "Hey, can we take some of these?" And he goes, "I'm just going to take them to throw away, but let me ask my boss," right? So we wait for the boss to come out. And it's this, you know, white gentleman, and he was really nice, like, "Yeah, take as many as you want." And he sees my sweatshirt, and he's like, "Cal Poly, huh?" And he was like, "I went to such and such," and I'm just like, "Hello," you know. But it was such a small little village that I wasn't really expecting that, and so I was just like, "Well, that was interesting." And so it's just a different way of life, and it must be nice because right now in Mexico, like the dollar is so much stronger than the peso, so it kind of makes sense as to why people would want to retire there. But it's kind of like funky when you see so much poverty on the other side at times, you know, sometimes like less than a 5-minute drive away. So
Which goes back to the Charles. He said, "So many people want to leave this country. I can't understand it. Why would anyone want to leave the most beautiful place on earth?" Because he's only
That's why I brought it up.
part of it.
mm-hmm.
Only seeing part of Colombia. He's
Right.
probably not seeing the corrupted part, the violence, and everything else in between.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have to go hungry or anything like that either.
And that too. He already has the riches where he can support himself and not suffer.
Oh, there was also some line about like we deserve it. Hold on, let me see. I wrote it down. It's not the she said it's not the country we want, but it's the country we deserve.
That was
Like, what
weird.
does that mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It made me think of Batman, where they say like he's not the
Oh,
hero.
the hero.
What is the line? He's not the hero.
He's not the hero we deserve, but or Yeah, he's not the hero we need, but he's the hero we deserve, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But maybe she meant it more in regards to like the politicians that are that corrupt.
Yeah, I think it's just in regards to the narcos and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How big is Colombia in like drug wars and stuff like that?
How big is Colombia in like size, like land-wise?
No, I'm like talking about like are they big on
On drugs,
like
yeah.
narcs and stuff?
That was where Pablo Escobar came from, right?
Yep.
My mom
Yeah.
says yes.
Yeah, they were
That's right,
talking about
because at the
they were-
beginning of the book, he they're talking about how he just died, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna look that up. There's a few things they mentioned, like the Schengen Agreement that allows people to travel without visas, and apparently people from Latin America can go to Spain with like without issues. And I was like, oh shoot, I've never really heard of them trying to go to Spain, because obviously they talk about going to the north because it's like, you know, the border right there. But crossing a sea, since it's the same language, I was like, oh. I only heard one person tell me that one. Other than that, I rarely heard.
Yeah, you read them. Is that still a thing? Like nowadays?
I didn't look it up. I did all my reading today, so I didn't look it up.
I think it is very interesting.
Wasn't Colombia like closed off and they just opened it to tourism like a few years ago or something?
Isn't that Cuba? Cuba?
Okay, yeah, Cuba.
You can't go to Cuba. It's only if you're Beyonce and Jay-Z, but that's beyond the point.
My mom's trying to distract me with 80s rap.
What?
Hold on, I put myself on mute.
Wait, no. Turn on the rap. Just
Okay, they want to hear. I'm telling my mom, it won't work, your distraction.
pump it.
I was just gonna say, the next section will be chapter 9 through I think it's 18.
18.
18, yeah.
Stop at 18 or?
Read 18.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And the rest will be 19 to the end.
Sweet. Yeah, it seems like a good book so far. I'm excited to see the different points of view.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how, because I've seen that everyone's like talking about it. They're like, I love this book. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And it just brings me
It's a
back to
hype.
the whole Roma movie that everyone was like obsessed over. And I'm like, it was good. That's our life. So it wasn't amazing.
I think it has more to do with the fact that there's representation happening than
Or
like the actual story of the thing.
yes, or the fact that they don't know about our experiences. So they're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. When for us, it's not new. For
That's
them,
true.
that's how I saw it. Because I didn't think the movie
Yeah.
was like I watched it with my family, and my parents were like telling me how they experienced what they were going through, or like during that time. But we weren't like, oh my God, best movie. We need to watch it.
How bad is it that I haven't seen it yet, but I want to?
You
I
haven't
need
seen it? It's on Netflix. What are you doing?
Okay,
What
I'm
is
on
it? I haven't seen
Spring
it
Break. I'll
either.
watch it this week.
Roma?
What's it called?
I
Roma?
think it's Roma.
It's about like an immigrant?
Yeah,
Or
it's the wife of, what's her name?
coming here.
Yalitza
Yeah.
Perez
That's her real name.
with a name in the middle. Oh,
Alicia Aparicio. That's her.
I think it's a big deal too because of that actress, right? Because she's
So
the
the
first
reason that it was such
Oaxacan
a big
actress.
deal is because she was nominated for an Academy Award and she is from Oaxaca.
Oh,
And-
how did I not know about this?
Oh, it was 2 years ago. It won for best movie for Alfonso Cuarón as a director also. But it was like primarily it was the fact that it was showing a story that isn't necessarily told often, and the lead actor is a minority, and like it was her first role.
Oaxaqueña.
Oh, maybe I did hear about it 2 years. Yeah, I'll have to watch it with Alvaro because he's
I
Oaxacan.
think you may have heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to miss it, honestly.
It was only on Netflix. That's the difference.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not a big movie
I'll
person.
watch it this week, guys.
We'll watch it.
Roma, it's called. Roma.
Yeah. Well,
Tomato?
do you guys believe in like fate?
Like religious faith.
No, just like predisposition or
Oh, fate.
mm-hmm.
Oh, Faith. I was also hearing Faith.
Okay, because let me just tell you. So this chick, she is a teacher. The only reason that she auditioned for that movie was because her sister, who was supposed to audition, was sick, and she's like, "Here, just take my spot." And like this, she got the role, and then she got like an Academy Award nomination, and like she will never have to essentially work for the rest of her life. Like she's on television now. It was
Yeah.
super random
That's for
that this happened to her.
sure.
Yeah, I think that's fate.
That is good, though.
I don't know if I believe in fate.
Representation matters.
Hey,
Okie doke. So yeah, that will be our
Next time, if you guys are all planning to wear ears, can you let us know in advance?
The only one that forgot. I'll let y'all know.
everyone was going to pull theirs, so I went literally digging through the closet. I was like, I know I have some somewhere.
I'm glad. I thought like I was kind of dorky, and then you all started like wearing them, and I was like, oh, yay.
how we all just like bam, hey, get one, and now it's a party.
Hey, you guys.
Okay.
Okay, it's past midnight here now, so I'm gonna go to bed.
All right.
Good night.
Okay, so
Good night.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye. See you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
bye.